Welcome to the Be Happy Now show. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. I'm Claudia-Sam. If you know that you're here for a bigger reason, this is the place to be. Together, we ditch the self-care guilt and quit the go with less fear and more trust. Tune in to living life in alignment with your full potential. The Be Happy Now show starts now. Yay, welcome. I'm Claudia-Sam. I'm so glad that you're here. Oh, this show today is going to allow you to arrive in the present moment. This show today is about just being and what it's really about. I'm here, your soul connection coach, supporting happiness seekers who feel stuck with where they're at in life, who feel like they might not be exactly where they want to be, where they need to be. And using my tune-in method, I support them to prioritize themselves, come back to their essence, to why they're here. And I'm joined today with my friend, Ellen Wyoming Deloy, beautiful intuitive reader and coach who allows people to see the real them within themselves, who allows them to tap into their inner growth from who they are, and she guides them inward. Also, like I suggest that you be your own inner guide. Ellen also is very intuitive and she reads people's energy, and I'm so glad that she's here with me today to just talk about just being and what it's really about. Ellen, hi.
Hi. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Before we go into, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. And so I'm going to tell our audience the three main things we're going to talk about today. But first, please introduce yourself. Tell us more about you, beautiful you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm, as Claudia-Sam said, I'm Ellen Wyoming Deloy. And despite if you're watching this, my cool backwards Colorado t-shirt, I'm in Oregon. So I'm just representing all the Western United States at the moment today. But I am a coach, I am a consultant, and I'm an intuitive reader. And Claudia nailed it. Claudia-Sam, you nailed it for what I do with people one-to-one. So I do intuitive readings, basically to cut through the noise of what's going on, because what is hard and what we're going to dive in on today is for people to actually be present. I think people often find it actually can be overwhelming and scary. Not in like a life-threatening, a tiger is going to eat me kind of way, but the reason we reach for snacks and Netflix instead of getting present and being with ourselves. And I really help work with people to bring them a pathway back home so they can start to identify sort of like what it is that's in the way of them moving forward to what would actually make them be more in their truth, to be more happy now, or to just feel like more fulfilled, more purposeful, or that they know that they're going somewhere for a purpose. And I think I'm a little bit older than Claudia-Sam, but I'm in my 40s, and you just kind of get a check-in at some point. It doesn't matter where you are in your life, but you have a quarter life crisis, a midlife something, and you're like, what is it that we're running on the rat wheel or the hamster wheel for in the rat race? I'm like mixing metaphors. Story of my life. So that's what I do there. And then consulting just for fun. So, I still work with organizations working to advance equity and centering an anti-racism lens. And so there's some cool projects that I still get to help facilitate and do training on. Those aren't really on my website because that's not what the website is for. The website's for the personal stuff, but I also still do the things that I have done for quite a while now. So it's fun. And if I had time, oh my God, it's all connected at a root cause because of the change that we need to do to honor ourselves so that we can be liberated, so that we can support the liberation of others with less fear and more bravery, which is fundamentally the core of why I do what I do, and to also learn and grow myself. I'm definitely not taking care of that.
Oh my gosh, totally. Ellen, you and I are both in it. We're both doing the work, right? We coach and we get coached and we work on ourselves and we allow ourselves to tap into that bravery. And so thank you so much for being on. Thanks for having this conversation. And if you're curious, if you're listening and you're like, how can I get in touch with Ellen? Go to her website, Ellen Wyoming Deloy, EllenWyoming DELOY.com. All right. And if you want to get in touch with me, go to ClaudiaSamSoulCoaching.com. And in the Be Happy Now show episode of today, or in today's episode, we'll be talking about what it means to show up in alignment with your body, mind, spirit. We will talk about what simplicity has to do with it. And especially because, well, Ellen is a mom, I'm not a mom. So our lives are totally different in how we might show up to be present. And we'll also offer you ways that you can make it a way of being, the just be, the being in the present moment, because it's more than a concept or a wall decor. Have you ever like walked into a decor store and then you have these beautiful just be signs, and then you take it home, you hang it out, you hang it up, you see it, or you go to friends' houses and they have it there, but everyone's in the doing, everyone's in the go, go, go. And the being part of it is this concept that we don't really know how to or what to even do with it. So, Ellen, how are you just being, and what would you describe just being is for you?
Just being is a practice for me, because as a human being, I still run human doing most of the time, or a lot of the time. It's probably less than it was before. But as Claudia-Sam mentioned, I'm a parent. I have two kids. They're 5 and 8 now, and we homeschool, and I work from home, and my husband works, and it's a juggle all the time. So there's just lots of stuff to be managing. Like I came back just now from the library and the grocery store. Like that's what I was doing this afternoon. And so being is a practice, and I have to set aside intentional time for it. And I think the part when I'm working with my clients that they get a little flummoxed around is like, I have to be all the time present 100%. And I'm like, well, actually, like, do you? Is that your truth? Or are there moments where you can have the quality of beingness that kind of help reground you and set the tone for maybe the next hour, or set the tone for the morning, and maybe set the tone for the entire day? For me, I find it's like setting the tone for the next 4 hours. Like that's kind of how I have to check in with myself. And so I have a practice, I have a mindfulness practice, I have a meditation practice, and I use all of my tools every day to stop and kind of check in with myself. And being an intuitive and doing the psychic work that I do, I feel energy all the time. So right before I got in here, I knew I was rushing, and I was like, whoa, I have to recalibrate. And I've been doing this forever. There's something, I've heard it called segment intention before. And I like that as a term, because you're setting an intention for the next segment of time of what you're going to do. And I got here and I was like, oh, because my husband was using my office briefly. And I was like, I could tell that he was in here. The energy is different. So I grounded my room. I burned a little sage. I did a little breathing. I reset all of my little energetic boundaries that I do so I could be present to have this conversation in alignment with Claudia-Sam and not still busy with the thing that I had just finished doing.
Thank you so much for bringing this here. It's the word intention, right? And the segment, I love that too, because it compartmentalizes it. Often what I tend to do is wake up and set the intention of how I want to feel. So I'll plant both feet on the earth, and then I will connect with my heart, with the breath, and I'll just ask my higher self, my soul, my intuition, call it whatever, resonates with you. And I'll ask my heart, how do I want to feel today? And most often the word connected, but the word simple, the word at ease comes up, because that's what I find that beingness allows us to tap into. When we are, it's like a cycle. When we are in beingness, we are in ease, we're in flow, and we are connected to the moment. We're not using the mind to take us to the past or to take us to the future. We allow the thoughts to be right here, right now, with how we want to feel. So if in the middle of the day, I'm like, oh, wait, I am not feeling connected, or I'm not feeling the ease. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to breathe. And then I'm going to take my tools that I know to connect back with how I want to feel. In all honesty, I do tend to forget. Oh, how did I want to feel this morning? Because of the doing, because of we're always on the go. It's just the way the human beings have started to make doing their new way of being. We tend to forget. So I'd love to share how I be in the moment. And because you just shared, right? Saging and breathing. Is there like a specific practice that you go to that definitely just takes you right back?
Oh, yeah. But what I want to say, what I really like about what you're doing that is cool is that you're identifying an anchor point. And if you're doing it in the mornings, like there's a word, and it's a metaphorical grounding point for you to come back to when you've noticed you're not being mindful in a moment, and you go,
Mm.
oh yeah, connection was what I was looking for. How do I reconnect to connections? I really like your process. I think that's really lovely to have that sort of like guidepost anchor point, and it can change day to day. And the other thing, I know you asked me a question, but I really like what you said. The other part I really like about what you're talking about around the being and doing, you mentioned flow. And I think when also people think like, oh, I have to be, I have to allow, I have to receive, it can feel a lot like stillness. And sometimes that's actually not what it has to be. You can be present within your your doingness, but if you're present, you're in it for the deep quality of it, right? And that is flow state, what you're talking about, right? Like an artist who's painting. I wouldn't say that unless you can, an artist who's painting will probably get stuck when they feel like they have to force something because they have to finish it, and it just
Yeah.
the connection of what they're trying to create breaks. But when they're in it and they're absorbed in it and they're moving, and like the work is kind of working through them in their flow state, they're still doing something, they're painting, but they're in it, they're immersed. And I wanted to highlight that because you mentioned it. And I think that's really important as a discernment point, that you don't have to be sitting there meditating all the time doing nothing. Like and I'll tell you now my practice, I'm a very active meditator
Great.
because I don't like to sit still that much, though I do more so now than before. So there's actually a few ways that I meditate, but my key practice that I lean into is a highly active visual meditation where I sit and I'm seated, my feet are on the floor. So similar to you, but I imagine a grounding cord from my first chakra, or the pelvic floor area of your body, if you're not familiar with the chakra system, but just imagining that like your ancient tailbone extends down into the center of the earth. And I set it to release intentionally, to just release energy that's in my space, in my body, that's not mine. I turn on my feet chakras to open them up to bring earth energy up into my lower body. And your crown chakra is your seventh at the top of your head. So if you're listening and not watching, but I open that up to allow universal and just cosmic energy. So I'm getting a neutral flow of earth and cosmic working through my body to move the energy, to clear anything that feels stuck, and to ground me. And what ends up happening is it kind of pushes out the edges of myself again, so that if I've been feeling a little collapsed in on, it kind of pushes it back out again into like my aura field or my bioenergetic field. And that's my process. And I do that probably 20 to 30 minutes a day, sometimes twice a day. I actually have a reading right after this, so I'm going to be doing it again for a half an hour after we're done. And that's my quick. The other practice is honestly just going for a run, like movement and yoga, running and yoga. Boom. Like my brain turns off and all the energy gets moving anyway. It's perfect for me.
Thank you so much. And wow. And using this vision of connecting both with the earth and with the divine positive energy source of the cosmic universal force, what I see in that is that we as humans get to be the channel between these two forces. We get to embody, yeah, we're the container and we are the string or the connector between these two forces. And if we choose to embody it, should we choose to be a channel for it. So while you are either working or driving or grocery shopping or running, we get to tap into these forces time and time again, which is also one of the ways that I get to be all the time, because we can, like right here, right now with you, it's not just me talking. Okay. If you're not very tuned in to spiritual energy, or if this is too woo, I love you still, and you get to hear what you want. Um, it is me talking, and I'm tapping into the energy of positive energy source, because if it was just me, what seems to happen or what has happened up until now, and if you're listening and you're a people pleaser, you might resonate with this, is that if we always do and project outward and just think that it's just us giving, our battery ends up dead. We end up feeling depleted and drained. But when we can tap into the energy of the positive energy source and of the earth, it's like we're not doing it alone. And therefore, we are being this channel. We are being in alignment and in connection with just that flow of guidance, that flow of words, that flow of clarity of ideas.
And to
I don't know
feel
if I'm going
better.
off topic, but
No, it feels right. I mean, also to feel more accurately with practice where your edges and boundaries are so that you have more of a discerning sense of where the line for yes and no is for other people or for other things or for options that you're kind of trying to weigh out. Like, it's just so much easier for me to be like, that's not for me now. Like I turned down a project, like last year I had this huge project come up and it was great. It would have been a very fiscally smart year if I had done the project. And I was like, I can feel the energy of this going sideways and running me over like a steamroller. So I turned down a huge project and I was thinking about it this year. I was like, well, okay, that happened. Hopefully
and
the
it's
next
so
thing comes in that
amazing.
works right, you know?
Yes, because it's true. We get to honor our boundaries. We get to know what they are. Because when we are allowing ourselves to be with, now this is where I want to invite the beingness to an even deeper level, might not be the word, but to a level where you all can actually practice it,
Let's make
is
it
that
simple.
say again.
I was gonna say, we can dive into the simple here.
Yes, there you go.
There
Yes,
we go.
thank you.
Yeah.
When we get to be aware of how the body is feeling, when we get to be aware of what's the chatter in the mind that keeps us thinking, what if I fail? What if something goes wrong? What if I'm not good enough? What if this thing goes wrong? When we are tuned into that. And so when we are aware of the body, of the mind, and when we are aware of the emotions of what we are really feeling, to me, that's also being. And when we're like, when we know how we feel physically, mentally, emotionally, then we also know what our boundaries are. Until where can I say yes? And when does it feel actually so good that I say no because I'm honoring myself and because I love myself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that comes up for me is I'm like giving yourself permission to have that, which
Mm.
is so simple to say and sometimes can be so difficult to do. And it just takes the tiny bits of practice for the things that you're outlining that give you kind of the strength and resilience, I feel, to kind of build that out over time.
Mm. And often what I hear is, but I don't have time to take the time.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
that's just permission.
exactly.
People tell them like, no, that's just you not having permission. Let's just talk
Because
about
what
that.
about the 5, 10, 15 minutes scrolling through social media? Is that time you actually wanted to spend doing that?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
we can go and actually look at the 24 hours during the day. And if we really want to nitpick at we don't have time, well, we can find time. If you want to find time, you get to find time. What would be the simplest way to be? Perhaps it's to just breathe. Like right now, you and I were both breathing.
I'm the one who's
Breathing?
breathing.
No. Breathing? Yes. That's the
Yeah.
French.
And the anchor point, I think your anchor point is one of the most beautiful and easy ways to do it. Like if you sit right now, like everyone who's listening right now, if they sit, close their eyes, touch their feet to the ground, wiggle their toes, take a breath, and let a word come to mind that is a desired state, not the, but I can't. If that one comes in, just notice it, ask it to leave, and wait for the word that comes up that is the desired state. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's space, maybe it's time, and then have that there and talk to it and breathe with it. I mean,
Yeah.
for 2 minutes. I think I did the math one day. I feel like 5 minutes of meditation is 1.3% of our day.
Oh my
So you can
gosh.
do it. It's 1%. You can do it. Anyone can do it. And it actually has such exponential benefit to do the 5 minutes in the morning or that when you need a reset. and how it affects the tone of the rest of your day. It's really powerful, that 1%. It's so
It's
simple.
amazing. It's so simple.
Somebody's going to
When
check the math.
Yeah. Yeah, we can check the math, but it's so powerful to see it that way. If we really think of it as 100%, 1.3%. Wow. And when we get to take those 5 minutes, we then don't feel like it's so much of a hassle
Mm-mm.
to pause and to connect and to be, because we did it and we realized, oh, wow, my body wants more of it. My mind feels more spacious and clear. Ooh, I have better ideas. On days where I feel like a piece of, you know what, it's like I don't even have ideas. I don't feel creative at all. But as soon as I sit, as soon as I connect with my breath and I meditate, it's like this big curtain, heavy curtain lifts up, and then I see the stage and all the people there, and it's like, wow, there's so many ideas and possibilities, because I allowed myself to be and not get stuck in the doing. So doing
Or the
would be
problem solving. I think that
uh,
spot when you get a lack of creativity, for me, I've experienced it like, oh, I have to solve a problem now because I'm not working the right way. And it's like, then that just takes you kind of farther off course. And this is that scary point. I was going to ask you, when you have the resistance, do you have resistance to coming back to the breath, even though it is so simple? What are sort of like, what are the habits you've built or the trust you've built? What have you done to bring yourself back when you are in like an overdoing, overextended, losing your inspiration moment, and you want to come back to simplicity and the breath where you can
mm,
have that expansiveness? How do you get through the resistance to do that? What's your
mm.
strategy?
Thank you. Wow. You know what? The noticing part needs to happen. Before we get to move from the resistance to the act of moving away from it, there needs to be an inner willingness to, in my point of view, right? There needs to be an inner willingness of, I really care about myself, that I'm actually going to notice that this is a habit and a pattern. This is what
Yes.
we do in coaching. We help people flex that muscle to get to be in a state where they get to be aware and then make a choice. So once I find myself in a, normally it's a doing. I'm going to be ordering something online. I'm going to be replying to emails. I'm going to wait until the very last minute to do something. That is a habit of like, oh, the train keeps going. So what I do when I notice that, I put everything away. I literally go like, I push it away. I not like push it away, but I move away. I step away. I make a physical movement of, I'm going to step out of the energy, and I just do pretty much what you did, where I'll close my eyes. I will feel my feet chakra. I will breathe in the energy of the earth, raise my arms next to my body until they reach above my head. That's my breath in. And then I'll exhale my arms back down on the sides of my body, imagining magic sparkles all around my body. Then when I exhale, so on the end of my exhale, I push the energy back down into my feet with my hands. That's it.
I like sparkles. I want to use that.
One movement. Oh my gosh, 3 minutes left, Jacob. We could keep going with this conversation. Okay, right? Ellen, I know that you have a beautiful tool to help our listeners to kind of release the mind chatter and get back in alignment with the moment. So I'd love for you to tell us about it and tell the audience where to
Oh,
go and grab it.
yeah, thank you. I have I developed a product. It's or like it's actually just a downloadable document. I'm sure people have seen them. But I developed one. It's called 5 Steps to Stop Negative Self-Talk. And it can be one of those things that prevents you from taking the 1% of the day for yourself as a priority.
Mm.
And so if you go to my website, you will, ellenwyomingdeloy.com. Thanks for spelling it. Such a long name. And but if you go there, you'll probably get a pop-up for my newsletter, and the newsletter, it will also send you that. But if you go all the way down, there's a free resources spot, and you can just sign up for it right there. 5
Cool.
steps to stop negative self-talk, to identify if the chatter and the committee in your head is actually your voice, and
Oh,
how
the
to start
committee.
pulling it out. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. The committee in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. And I have something similar for you as well, who is listening. I created a free audio guide to help you put yourself first at the top of the to-do list.
Oh, perfect.
It's a way to connect back to what's important to you, where your energy might be leaking, so that you can really choose you and say yes, right? To choose you time and time again. So go to claudiasamsoulcoaching.com, click on the start here button, or add a Claudia-Sam Soul Coaching /I'm important, and go ahead and download it for free. And if you're on the free meditation app Insight Timer, I actually have a 3-minute focus in the now free meditation, so that you could just actually use that as a timer to meditate for 3 minutes and get your being into practice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you so much, Ellen, for being on with me
Thank
today.
you for having me. It was a joy and too fast.
So much fun. Yes. And if you want to listen to Ellen, she also has a show on Transformation Talk Radio called The Pause. So go ahead and look that up. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you. May you find ways to choose you time and time again. You deserve to be you and nobody else. Have a beautiful rest of your day. You've been listening to the Be Happy Now show with me, Claudia-Sam. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. Tune in live every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on transformationtalkradio.com. You are worthy of being you and of connecting to what stops you from living the life you are meant to live. Access more soul connection coaching at claudiasamcoaching.com.